The ride that was never booked. I was driving for Uber on a cold winter night, the kind where the city feels empty and every streetlight flickers like it's tired of staying awake. Around 2:17 a.m., I received a pickup request in an industrial area near the river. The location bothered me. No houses. No shops. Just old warehouses and abandoned lots. I almost declined, but the surge price convinced me otherwise. When I arrived, there was a woman standing under a broken streetlight. Long black coat. No phone in her hand. She opened the back door without saying a word and sat directly behind me. The air inside the car instantly felt colder. I tried making small talk. No response. I checked the app. The destination was blank. Just a straight blue line with no end point. I asked her where she was going. She leaned forward and whispered my name. I never told her my name. My mirrors began to fog up even though the heater was on full. Her reflection didn't appear in the rearview mirror. I slammed the brakes and turned around. The back seat was empty. But the seatbelt was buckled and cold to the touch. My phone buzzed. The trip had ended. 5-star rating. Comment left. Thanks for the ride. I finally made it home. The pickup location later showed as a place where a woman had died in a hit and run 10 years ago while waiting for a taxi. I stopped driving nights after that. The passenger who knew the route. I used to drive a yellow taxi in London. Night shifts paid better, and I needed the money. One foggy night, I picked up an elderly man near an old hospital that had been closed for decades. He wore a gray suit and smelled strongly of antiseptic. He gave me an address across the city, then said something strange. Take the long way. I don't like shortcuts. As I drove, he began giving exact directions. Turn here. Slow down there. Stop at this light even though it was green. He knew every street better than my GPS. I asked if he used to be a driver. He smiled and said, I used to bring people here. Not everyone left. The fog thickened until I could barely see the road. My radio turned to static, then a faint voice came through, repeating street names we had already passed. I felt dizzy. My chest tightened. I told him we were almost there. He leaned closer and whispered, this is where I died. I slammed the brakes and turned around. The seat was empty. But my cab smelled like antiseptic and old blood. When I reached the address alone, it was a cemetery. The name on the gate matched the name on the credit card used to pay for the ride. Date of death, 1989. Cause of death, heart attack in a taxi. Every time fog rolls into the city now, I swear I see him standing on the sidewalk, waiting. The last ride recorded. A young woman in New York ordered an Uber late at night after leaving a friend's apartment. She sat in the back seat and immediately noticed something odd. The driver never spoke. No greeting. No confirmation. His eyes never left the road. Halfway through the trip, her phone lost signal. The map froze. She looked up and realized they were no longer on the highway. The streets were unfamiliar. Abandoned. Street signs were rusted or missing. She asked the driver where they were going. He smiled for the first time and said, I always take my passengers where they belong. She tried to open the door. It wouldn't unlock. She began recording a voice note, whispering her location and begging anyone who heard it to help her. The dashboard clock started spinning backward. The air smelled like burning rubber and decay. Suddenly the car stopped. The driver turned around. His face was pale, eyes completely black. You weren't supposed to get in, he said. The recording ended with her screaming. The next morning, the Uber was found abandoned under a bridge. Engine cold. No fingerprints. The driver's account had been active for years but had no personal details, no license, no history. Her phone was recovered in the back seat. The voice note was still there. Police said the GPS coordinates in the recording led to a location that doesn't exist. The account still goes online sometimes. Accepting rides. Always at night. If you ever feel something is wrong during a ride, trust that feeling. Because sometimes, the scariest rides are the ones that were never meant to happen. Here are 2 more parts continuing and completing the collection, keeping the same tone, suspense, and flow. No unnecessary spaces or numbering. The driver who never blinked. A taxi driver in Karachi shared this story anonymously on an online forum before deleting his account forever. He claimed it was the reason he quit driving after 12 years without a single complaint. One night close to 3 a.m., he picked up a man outside an old cinema that had been shut down for years. The man wore modern clothes but looked strangely out of place, like he didn't belong to the present time. As soon as he sat down, the driver noticed something deeply unsettling. The man never blinked. Not once. They drove in silence for several minutes before the passenger suddenly said, "You should slow down here." The driver was confused. There was no turn, no speed breaker, nothing. Seconds later, a truck ran a red light and barely missed crashing into the taxi. The driver's hands shook on the steering wheel. "How did you know?" he asked. The man smiled. "I've died on this road before." The temperature inside the car dropped sharply. The windows fogged up from the inside. The driver tried to stop the car, but the brakes felt soft, unresponsive. The passenger leaned forward and whispered, "Don't stop yet. Not here." When the taxi finally stopped on its own, the man was gone. The door had never opened. The seat was soaked with water, as if someone had just climbed out of a river. Later that night, the driver searched online. Years ago, a man matching that description had died when his taxi was hit by a truck outside the same cinema. From that night on, the driver said he could feel someone sitting behind him even when the car was empty. Watching. Never blinking. The ride that keeps repeating. This final story came from an Uber customer who survived something she still cannot explain. She ordered a ride home after working a late shift. The driver arrived instantly, which felt strange for that hour. The license plate matched. The profile photo showed a smiling man named Daniel. As soon as the ride began, she felt uneasy. The streets outside looked familiar, yet wrong. Buildings appeared abandoned. Shops had no lights. No people. Her phone showed the trip moving, but the distance to her destination never changed. She asked the driver if there was traffic ahead. He replied calmly, "There always is." Minutes felt like hours. She noticed the same graffiti-covered wall pass by 3 times. Then 4. Panic set in. She told him to stop the car. He didn't respond. She checked the app again. The ride time showed 0 minutes. The pickup time was listed as tomorrow. The driver finally spoke. "You're stuck in the loop like the others." She screamed and yanked the door handle. This time, it opened. She fell onto the road, scraping her hands and knees. When she looked up, the car was gone. The street was normal again. Cars passed. People walked by like nothing had happened. At home, she checked her Uber history. The ride wasn't there. But weeks later, she received a notification. "Your driver is arriving." The pickup location was her home. The driver's name was still Daniel. She deleted the app and never used ride sharing again. Because some rides don't end when you get out. They wait. Ready to pick you up again. The ride that locked itself. A college student in Chicago ordered an Uber around 1:40 a.m. after a study session ran late. The driver arrived quickly, too quickly. She noticed the car doors were already unlocked, which felt strange because most drivers wait. As soon as she sat down, the doors locked automatically. The driver didn't greet her. His eyes stayed fixed on the road, unblinking. The app showed her destination clearly, but instead of turning onto the main road, he took a narrow side street. She politely said the route was wrong. He replied calmly, "I know a faster way." Her phone battery suddenly dropped from 60% to 3%. The streetlights outside began flickering, then disappearing completely. Houses turned into empty buildings. She tried to open the door. It wouldn't budge. The driver finally spoke again. "You're not my first mistake tonight." Her heart pounded as she noticed scratches on the inside of the car door, deep claw-like marks. She started screaming and kicking the window. The driver smiled, pressed a button on the dashboard, and the music cut out. Silence filled the car. Suddenly, the car swerved violently and slammed into a parked vehicle. The airbags exploded. Everything went black. She woke up on the road surrounded by police and paramedics. The Uber driver was gone. The car's front seat was soaked in blood, but there was no body. When police checked the account, the driver's profile photo matched a man who had died in a car accident 2 years earlier on the same street. The last trip accepted. An Uber driver in Manchester decided to take one final ride before ending his shift at 4 a.m. The request came from a quiet residential area. The passenger name was just a single letter. No profile picture. When he arrived, no one was visible. Then the back door opened on its own. The app marked the passenger as on board. He asked if anyone was there. A cold breath brushed his neck. The temperature inside the car dropped sharply, and the windows fogged up from the inside. The GPS began directing him toward an old bridge known locally for suicides. He tried canceling the ride. The app froze. A message appeared on the screen. Trip cannot be cancelled. A voice whispered from the back seat. You didn't stop for me last time. The driver's hands shook. He had never been to this place before, or so he thought. Memories suddenly flooded back. Years ago, he had driven past a man standing on that same bridge and ignored him. The car stopped on its own at the center of the bridge. The engine died. The doors locked. The voice spoke again. Now you stop. The next morning, the Uber was found parked neatly on the bridge. Engine cold. No driver inside. His phone was discovered on the front seat. The final notification read, "Trip completed." That Uber account still exists. It goes online late at night. Always near the bridge. And sometimes, it accepts rides.